Hello and welcome back to Beauty Investigates with me, Debbie Arnold.
And me, Debbie McGee.
So here we have the lovely Jenny O'Neill, who's going to tell us the other side of the beauty coin, the body coin. Can you tell us, I know Dee, you've had treatments with Jenny, so can you talk to us about them?
So I had M-Sculpt, which is absolutely brilliant. But this one, it really does get to the muscles, doesn't it, and tightens them up.
And builds muscle, so it will build muscle fibres to make the muscle stronger and have more muscle bulk. And the great thing about the M-Sculpt is that it does, similar to what was being described earlier, it tones the muscle, builds muscle bulk, but also dissolves fat at the same time. The treatment plan is 4 half-hour sessions, and we're stimulating the equivalent of 24,000 sit-ups in one session, which sounds horrendous. But because we're bypassing the brain, the body doesn't react in the same way as you did as if you were possible to be able to do it. 24,000 sit-ups in the gym, and also taps out the muscle in between the stimulations, so you don't get a build-up of lactic acid, so you don't get that muscle ache. So you have there's no downtime really at all afterwards, apart from once you stand up, you then feel the toning of the muscles and you stand straighter.
Yeah.
We help a lot of people that have got bad backs because, again, if you stimulate the abdominals, you can actually support the back at the same time. And the M-Sculpt also has side applicators that stretch around from the waist to the back, so you're working those muscles as well and building up that core strength.
Okay, ladies, so I've done my 5-point check. You've got gloves, hat, mask, socks and slippers, and they're about to go in.
Where are you?
I am in an infrared sauna.
And how does it feel?
It feels lovely. It feels lovely.
And what is the difference between an infrared sauna and a sauna? Do you know yet?
Well, it works on a cellular level.
Oh, very!
and yada yada blah blah blah, and I feel wonderfully hot, and then it kind of infiltrates your blood, and then suddenly you're better, and they feel marvellous. There you go. That's my scientific assessment.
Rupert, I'm very into sustainability now, and I think that's for another programme, Debbie, don't you?
Yeah.
Because also I'm learning things about how a lot of makeup is tested on animals, which some people have an issue with, or is toxic if you wear it a lot and things, and we're not kind of fed that in their marketing. And I know a lot about your products, so I know that you're passionate as well. So I think today, if everybody's okay with this, with all our investigations, I think we should guide our audience into, if starting out now and say we all want to go and say, right, think afresh, or somebody who hasn't done their makeup much before, where should we begin? With the primer? How do we build?
How do we begin?
Okay, a great question. So look, I'm a fan of just having 4 or 5 products that really work for you, and I know that as a makeup artist you need lots and lots of products, but 4 or 5 great products. Primer, I'm a big fan of, and I've given you my underwear primer. You all wearing my underwear?
Oh yes, I'm not wearing your underwear.
Definitely, I'm going to always wear your
He just
underwear.
wants to get the foundation off. I know men like you.
How many times have you done your hair and makeup, put a jumper over your head, and your hair's all messed up? So my tip is what my grandmother gave me, and it still works. Get a head square scarf, put it over your hair, pull the jumper down, and your hair won't be touched. I promise you. That's my trick. Not a magic one though.
What What does it look like then? What's the process? Is it little pads or?
Yes, it's pads that are connected to the machine, which emanates both the electromagnetic energy as well as radio frequency, and it's the radio frequency that helps dissolve the fat more efficiently.
So is it like it makes your muscle contract and relax?
Yes.
Yes, so you can feel it actually working the muscle.
Yes, and then
interesting.
and then of course the metabolism that creates burns the fat. So it's a natural process, if you like.
Yeah, so Natalie, I think, needs this, but not cosmetically really, but because of what's happened to you. Tell Jenny what's been going on. And I think this is the perfect treatment for you now.
Yes, does it do the legs
Yes.
and the core and everything? I'll tell you why, about 10 months ago I had a pain in my foot, and it's turned out now, 10 months later, they've actually diagnosed that I've been walking around on a stress fracture. So I haven't, for the last, I did a play with Debbie earlier in the year, and I was fine during that. It was a bit painful, and then it got increasingly more painful, and I haven't been able to take any exercise at all. So I just feel like I haven't got a muscle in my body. There's nothing there. Then they discovered it was a stress fracture, so I've been given this massive boot where I'm not wearing it today, which is very naughty. But I just thought, oh gosh, if I could just have something to help me get my muscles
Build the
back,
muscle back.
would this work?
Yes. Obviously, you've got an issue that relates to one muscle that's causing you a problem, and probably you've got by now some muscle wastage, and you need to build the muscle back up again.
I feel very
Yeah.
wasted.
Debbie, hang on. Did you live through the 70s? Because I did.
Yes. How much? What have we had to drink or eat or anything? We haven't had anything. Oh, this is really weird.
Hang on, let me just flip this round.
When
So-
you put a primer on, and of course I do know your primer very well. I love it. I recommend
Thank
it to
you.
everybody.
Thank you.
So, but what I never know is, do I put it on and then put makeup straight on the top of it, or do
question.
I wait?
Good question. Okay, so primer is not a skincare product. Do your skincare routine as normal. And then I always say leave your skin for 4 or 5 minutes, all right? Go and do your hair or boil an egg or whatever it takes. Just to allow the skincare to do its job and absorb into the skin, because you know if your skin's still a bit oily from your moisturiser, your foundation's going to slip around. So do your skincare and then just find some space to do something else. Come back. Primer is part of your makeup routine. So a couple of pumps of primer all over to the face and onto the neck. And the clue's in the title. You know, if you've painted any surface, like a canvas or a car or a wall or whatever, you prime it beforehand, because the foundation will go on more easily, it will look better, and it will last longer. Who doesn't want that? Okay, so primer is really important, and even when you're not wearing foundation, a lot of primers, if you put them on, will just make your skin look amazing immediately anyway. Can we talk about foundation?
Of course.
Yes.
Yeah. We're building.
Okay,
We're on building blocks.
Okay, right. Because this is the bit that most people get wrong, and I meet two types of women. I meet many types of women, but I meet
Thank
two,
you. I don't know why you looked at me when you said like Debbie.
I meet two types of women. I meet women who have been wearing the same foundation for 30 years that they love and adore. Fine. And then I meet other women who they try a foundation, and every time they get to the end of it, they chuck it away and they go and buy a different one and try that one out. And it's really, really hard to get right. A beauty journalist said to me the other day, your foundation is the bra and knickers of your makeup routine, right? But if you get that right, if you get that bit right, everything's much easier to do. So I'm going to say this. When you're finding a colour, all right, don't run into wherever it is you buy your foundation on and test it on the back of your hand. That's not going to tell you. And then don't put your hand near your face. That's not going to help either. You want to try a little on the jawline, because as we all know, we don't want the dreaded tide mark right around here. But don't stop there. Try a little on your forehead, just above the eyebrow. And I'll tell you why. A lot of us are more tanned on our forehead than we are on the jawline. And the old adage of match your foundation to your jawline, I think can make you look a little pale. None of us want to look that way. So make sure the colour matches just above your eyebrow. And if you've got time, dab a little on your cheek. And if these 3 areas look like a colour that matches well, that's probably going to be the foundation for you.
So So the other two body remodelling options that we have is cool sculpting, which is fat freezing. It has been a technology that was actually developed at Harvard University and started off as something that related to children sucking ice lollies. Children that sucked ice lollies a lot had some grooves in their tongue where the ice had dissolved the fat.
Oh, wow.
And from that, the whole thing for cool sculpting was developed. So it's a great non-surgical solution, cool sculpting.
Victorians considered makeup on women to be distasteful. In fact, the only women who wore makeup were prostitutes and actresses. But women would still find ways of enhancing their looks, perhaps with a fine dusting of potato starch on their faces, or perhaps a rag dipped in beetroot juice, just to give themselves that little blush. And perhaps they'd apply it to their lips as well.
Can I say, somebody told me recently to pat foundation on, is that right?
Okay, well, here is where the makeup artist industry is divided about how to apply. And the truth is it's going to be slightly different on everyone, depending on what your skin looks like or what we're trying to achieve. I'm a patter. Patting's good. I don't mind a pat. And I'll tell you why. When you pat, you leave the pigment where it is. When you rub, you kind of move the pigment around. Does that make sense? You're kind of wiping. I see people do it a lot with concealer. They pop some concealer under their eye and then wipe backwards and forwards like this. And all you're doing is wiping the concealer from side to side. I have to say I'm a big fan of a foundation brush. I know foundation brushes have been around for a while. When I first started doing makeup, we used to use a sponge. Remember those little tiny spongy
horrible
things?
Yeah,
you'd lose most of the foundation into the sponge anyway, and then you'd always have this horrible brown thing kicking around. I like a fluffy brush. A fluffy brush is a good way to go because it will just almost airbrush the foundation onto the skin without disturbing the pigments in the foundation too much.
Wow.
So that's what.
But
That's brilliant.
I'm different. I'm the third sort of woman.
Are you really?
Yes. Because I have probably about, not exaggerating, I would say about 50 foundations at home.
Right.
And I possibly can use all of them within, some days I think, my skin's a bit dry today or it's not looking so good, and I use it then and then I use another one.
It's a great point.
So I just change to how I feel.
It's a great point. But if you don't mind me saying, you're really good at your makeup. You've spent some time with makeup artists. You feel confident about makeup as well. So of course, I'm the same as you in my kit. I have lots of different products that I blend together. But it's difficult to translate that information into something that makes sense to someone who is having a challenge with their makeup, right? The answer can't be, buy yourself 50 foundations and whatever on you feel like, We need to try and find some rules and say, okay, generally you'll find that applying with a brush will work really, really well. Matching a foundation the way that I've said will work really, really well. The last thing I want to say is this coverage. Think about what level of coverage you need, not what you want. Because I think that people get trapped into having too much coverage on their face and they lose sight of the fact that their skin isn't looking natural anymore. It's not looking like great skin. It's looking like foundation. And for us as makeup artists, what we're always trying to do is make people look like they've got amazing skin, not amazing foundation. Does that make sense?
Yes, brilliant.
So have the level of coverage that you need and then touch up with some concealer.
Now, if you're getting a little bit older and you're noticing a few little wrinkles on your eyelids, when you're using eyeliner, put a kohl pencil on first, smudge it at the side to where you normally line the eyeliner and put your eyeliner on the top, and it stops your eyeliner going in those sneaky little wrinkles.
Third one is fat dissolving injections, which I very much keep to smaller areas like under the chin. Sometimes what I call the axillary puffs, the bits that sort of bulge over your bra, those sorts of areas. A few little injections where the solution sort of seeps like honey into the area and then breaks down the fat cells.
So how does that happen? I mean, what's in these injections that makes them do that?
Well, it's a whole complex of medical components, but again, it's been designed to be very safe, very specific, but obviously it has to be done by a medical practitioner who knows what they're
So
at.
in your training of giving these injections, and I'm always worried about injecting something into my body. So when you're treating a patient, how do you know that when you inject it and this honey-like substance will then go in and break down the fat? Why doesn't it? How can you make sure that it doesn't go all lumpy and
Spread.
Yeah, just even when people have got a little bit of fat here, if you go into it, it might be left in a funny, little lumps and spreading.
Well, I think what you've brought up is a really good point, because anything that I bring into the clinic, I research very carefully, and I think this is the important thing, because there are things out there that are actually harmful and, are faddy, and they're not medical, and they're not going to do what they're supposed to do. And again, it has to be given in the right dosages. They have to be products that have gone through the scientific process of research and getting a license, and they have to be proved to be safe but do the job that they're supposed to do.
Does your research involve you trying them out, Jenny?
I always try everything before I
in the clinic. So what did you get rid of? Fat-wise?
My chin.
Oh, did you?
Very good.
Yeah.
What was it like before?
Well, it was sort of hangy-downy, if you like. It was sort of a little pocket here, which you can see is actually firmer
And
now.
how long did it take for it to happen?
I normally bring patients back at about 3 to 4 weeks after injection, and by that time you will see the difference.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because in the old days, people would have that removed, wouldn't they? There was a cut, and probably you still can, but it was an awful operation, because I actually know somebody who had it done.
And some people have these things that, where the sort of stretch of fat sort of goes from their chin down into their neck, doesn't it? So they
Like
have
a
this
gouter.
sort of...
Yes.
A goiter.
Goiter. Yeah.
Gouter. Gouts in your feet.
It's great for and what also we use it a lot for, so we can treat that area with cool sculpting, but you have to have a certain amount of fat to be able to treat with cool sculpting. So if you haven't got very much fat, but you need those little pockets to be dealt with, then the injections.
One of my top tips is always use a primer and an SPF. So my favourite primers are underwear from Delilah and Yves Saint Laurent Blur. I think it's called Touche Éclat Blur. And make sure, do your normal cleansing routine, but then put the primer on, leave it for a couple of minutes while you do your hair or make the bed, and then your foundation will just flow over the top.
What about SPF cover?
Excellent question. Such good questions today, guys. I love it. Okay, so here's the thing about SPF. SPF have traditionally been in foundations for a while. I have changed my mind on it, and as someone who formulates foundations, I've stopped putting SPF in foundations.
Why?
But, well, I'll tell you why. Because I think when you think, my foundation's got SPF in it, I don't need to put my daily SPF on. And so what women do is they stop putting their daily SPF on. Do your skincare as normal, get yourself a minimum SPF 30, minimum 50 if you can get it, right? Wait for your skincare to absorb, apply your SPF, wait for that to absorb as well, and then you can put your makeup on afterwards. The problem with having SPF in your foundation is you don't put it everywhere. You put a little dot here and a bit there, and you don't put it on your chest or on your neck or on your ears. So you're not getting the full protection from the SPF when it's in the foundation.
Yeah, it's also very confusing to know where to put it on. Do you put it on after your makeup? Do you put it on before your makeup? It's quite confusing. But I think the thing that has helped me the most is the SPF spray that you can spray over your makeup. And so,
And you know, Debbie, you're so right, because actually SPF has a little bit of a life on how long it works. Like if you're in direct sunlight, it will only really be truly effective for about 4 or 5 hours. Can I ask a question? Do you know what the number means? Like SPF 50, do you know what that means?
is it how long you can have it on for?
Yeah, but do you know where that number comes from?
No.
Okay, so I'll tell you.
Thank you.
Okay, if we'd all magic ourselves to Dubai now, all right?
Here we are, we're in the
All right,
sun.
and
What are we
we're in
drinking?
direct sunlight, and none of us are wearing SPF. All right, we've got no makeup on whatsoever. Okay, hands up if your skin burns in about 10 minutes.
2 minutes.
Hands up if your skin burns in less than 10 minutes. Hands up if your skin burns 30 minutes. Okay, so whatever that number is, however long it takes for your skin to be at what we call full exposure, you times that by the number on your SPF, and that's how long you can be in the sun before you get what we call full exposure.
I don't know how to work it out then.
Now, yeah, well,
Just
Take that to work it out.
have a little guess. I think it's an important piece of information because not many people understand what that number is. Here's another myth, and I know we're not talking about makeup. By the time you're burnt, it's time to get out of the sun.
Yeah.
There's no topping up with more SPF on. Once you've reached full exposure, it's time to get out.
I don't think I've ever been sunburnt.
Good for you.
Because because as a little girl I used to suffer terribly from prickly heat.
Yeah, good for you.
So I always stayed out of the sun.
Very
so
good.
now I can walk around in it, but I never sunbathe. I mean, I sunbathe in the shade. I sit in the shade.
Hence the beautiful smooth complexion that you've got. Because there's one thing we all know. SPF really will protect you from the premature
Can you
raging.
do that calculation thing again? Because I couldn't get that at all.
Sorry, yes, let me do it again. So imagine you've got no protection on whatsoever and you're in direct sunlight. How long will it take for your skin to burn, or what we call full exposure? And if that's 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, and I'm talking about direct sunlight, you times that by the number in your SPF, and that's how long your SPF will give you throughout the day before you reach full exposure. So let's imagine that it's 20 minutes before you start to burn.
Yes.
You times that 20 by 50 if you're wearing SPF 50, and that's how long you can stay in the sun before you're at what we call maximum exposure, and you should get out of the sun.
But other things. I mean, I like the fact of reupholstering the body. I mean, I think that's a very yes, it is. We're like old sofas, really, aren't we?
Jenny, you were talking about a pocket of fat under here. What if it's not particularly fat, but just excess
a little bit
skin? You know, that that's age. Is that a different
takes you down a different route, because then we're looking at skin tightening.
Right.
And so the device for that would be an in-mode device called Morpheus 8, which is quite well recognised, and that uses radio frequency at a deep level to tighten and firm the tissue. Works really well. And again, all it's doing is stimulating your skin to produce that tightening that you had when you were younger.
This isn't really a tip, this is a bit of an order. Yes, mate from McGee here. Never go to bed in your makeup. It's so bad for your skin. Cleanse, tone, moisturiser. Have a good eye makeup remover. I use the eye makeup remover I've used from when I was a teenager, and you will thank yourself when you get older. I promise you. It keeps your skin looking great.
Jenny, do you use fillers anywhere in the body, anywhere else in the body apart from the face?
No.
I just want honesty. I love your honesty.
But I
you can do, but I don't.
Yeah,
No.
I mean, I was just thinking about. I was reading somewhere about sort of natural boob lifts. Well, natural, you know, with just.
There's
on
a
the
lot of
fillers.
controversy
Yeah.
about that, and I don't think it's a safe procedure, and I don't think it's. I think that's a procedure for a surgeon. And not for a doctor or a nurse that's
This
not.
is what I was really impressed when I
surgical.
came to you, because you are medically trained and you know, so much so, as you said, all the research, and I think it's important and everyone feels very safe, you know, because there are so many people out there and there's very little regulation, isn't there?
Yes, there is.
Well, that's another thing that's happened, isn't it?
New
recently?
regulations coming in, and I think they're a really good thing, because it means that people that practice have to have the qualifications that they need and the experience to be able to provide that service, and also it regulates the premises that you work from to make sure that they are up to the standards that are required, so that you've got infection control and all of those. I mean, like for instance, the floors in my clinic are surgical floors. There's no cracks in them. The flooring goes up the sides of the walls, so there's nowhere that germs can harbour, and they can be cleaned easily and all of that sort of thing. You've got surgical sinks where you use elbows, not hands, to turn the taps on and off, and all of that stuff that means that you're reducing the possibility of infection being transferred, as well as your aseptic techniques and all the things that you use during your practice.
Well, Jenny, thank you so much
pleasure.
for all that information. And don't forget, if you've got a question that you'd like us to investigate, the beauty investigators are here waiting for your questions, and we will do it for you, and we will create another programme with all of us and experts that know all about it. So until the next time, stay beautiful.
Oh yes, keep young and beautiful. If you want to be beautiful, keep young and beautiful. If you want to be loved,
Don't call us, we'll call you.
Thank you.